All right, AP Gov. I'm going to give you a review of the civil rights and civil liberties. Okay, I know I have a lot of videos in this section, but they're good videos. Okay, hopefully you're learning the concepts. Hopefully you're getting ready for the AP exam. We're here at the end. All right, we got some time to study. All right, here we go. Okay, you got your intro. You went through this. It talks about civil rights versus civil liberties. Okay, here's the civil liberties. Here's the civil rights. All right, pretty much sums it all up. There's a big difference between civil rights and civil liberties. Okay, there's a good chance it will be on your AP, your state exam. It will be 100% on my exam. But your civil rights are your protections against pretty much discrimination. All right, it's in your handouts. It's in your notes. But your civil rights are protections. All right, against discrimination based on race, gender, other minority status. So it helps from discrimination. Okay, civil liberties. Civil liberties applies to protections by all Americans. So pretty much your civil liberties tell the government what they can and cannot do. Both of these, civil liberties and civil rights, are both part of what we call the incorporation doctrine. Okay, also known as your 14th Amendment. Your 14th Amendment. Watch this video. It's in your PowerPoint. It's a great video. It will be guaranteed. It'll be at least 3 to 4 questions on your AP final, your state final, off of the incorporation doctrine. All right, it's a good chance there'll be a written response based off of this question on your final. But you need to know what the incorporation doctrine is. 2 parts to it are your civil liberties and your civil rights. Protection against discrimination. All right. And then protection for all Americans is your civil liberties, what the government can and cannot do. Okay? Got your concepts. I'm going to go through these quickly. You got your civil liberties. This is what I just pretty much went over. Okay? You have a bunch. I know it's a bunch of court cases. All right? You're going to need to learn them. You have to learn them. Note card, flashcard, memorize. I gave you your handouts. In your handouts, I've starred the most important court cases. Okay? Guarantee they're going to be on my test. More than likely, you'll see half of them on your AP final. There's going to be questions where it tells you a statement, and you have to pick out what the court case is. Come on. It's AP government. That's what this class is all about. Okay? So go through and memorize the court cases. All right? So, there's court cases for each one of them. All right? There's a bunch of them. All right, here's big. After you get through the court cases, all right, here's a timeline for the civil rights. All right? Civil War. You should, I'm going to go through this. I'm hoping you know it or have an idea about it, but we'll see. Okay, the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. Some people say it was because of slavery. Some people say it was because of states' rights. All right, it's up in there. It's debatable. Okay, Emancipation Proclamation. Make sure you know what that is. All right. After the Civil War, the North wins. Okay, there's going to be 3 amendments called your Reconstruction Amendments. They're going to be number 13, 14, 15. You're going to need to memorize all 27 of them, but you need to know your 13th, 14th, and 15th is your Reconstruction Amendments. Okay, 13th Amendment. Okay, abolishes slavery. 14th talks about due process, equal protection, and citizenship. All those are parts of the civil rights and civil liberties. Remember, the 14th Amendment is also known as the incorporation doctrine. Okay, some people say the 14th is the most important. Okay, then the 15th is all men can vote. So 13, 14, 15, Reconstruction Amendments. After that, we got the Civil Rights Act of 1875, ban discrimination in hotels. Okay, remember, we're going to have discrimination in the South for another 100 years. Okay, Jim Crow laws. Highlight it. Know that word. It will be on your test. Jim Crow laws is going to allow segregation. And where is it going to allow segregation? Well, it's going to allow it in the South. Remember, the North wins the Civil War. The South loses. You're going to have a lot of upset people in the South. So they're still going to want slavery. So they called it the Jim Crow laws. So a couple things they're going to do is they're going to have a poll tax. They're going to tax people to vote. Well, a lot of your African Americans at this time don't have the money to vote. Okay? They're also going to have what we call literacy tests, where you have to take a test. If you pass it, it allows you to vote. Okay? You got your grandfather clause they came up with. Well, the grandfather clause, if your grandfather voted, you could vote. Well, at the time, in the 1880s, most of their grandfathers were slaves, so they couldn't vote. So the grandfather clause, this is what the South wanted to do. Equal Pay Act of 1963, the 24th Amendment, you should already know, outlawed the poll tax. This is when you have to pay to vote. Civil Rights Act of 1964, banned discrimination in public places. This is a big one. Civil Rights Act of 1964 bans discrimination in all public places. Make sure you know it. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 is another big one. Okay? The federal government could register voters in the South. And what this also does, it outlaws your literacy test. It knocks out where you have to take a test to vote. All right, so go through those. Make sure you have an idea of what's going on. Plessy versus Ferguson, obviously that's a big one. Brown versus Borden. I mean, these are two huge court cases. I mean, massive. Okay, Plessy versus Ferguson. This was a court case where they said separate but equal. Hey, you can have a white school, you can have a black school. It's fair. Well, in reality, it's not going to be fair. Somebody's going to have the nicest school. Somebody's going to have the better teacher. Somebody's going to be left with the rest. Brown versus Board. This is finally your court case that says, hey, it's not fair. We got to have equal. Separate but equal schools is unconstitutional. Okay, Linda Brown. Remember the little girl had to walk 6 miles to go to school? She protested. She wins. Brown versus Board of Education. Unanimous decision. Okay, here's your women. There's your three major women acts and amendments. 19th, women can vote. Okay, here's a good video on the civil rights, civil liberties. I hope you're going through these. Okay, here's the video on the freedom of religion. You got the court cases on the freedom of religion. Make sure you know what polygamy is. Polygamy is having more than one wife. And yes, you are not allowed to do that. You got each one of these talks about the different each one of these is a crash course on the amendment. You need to know it. Okay, like I said, polygamy. Make sure you know what bills of attainder is. You can't be punished without trial. Both of these, I put this at the end. This is extra because I'm putting it on my test right now. Okay, so you need to know what both of these are. Okay, I'm gonna go through the handouts. Okay, you got the handouts that are starred. Okay, so make sure you're listening. You got your court cases, civil rights versus civil liberties. Make sure you go through your concepts. The concepts are big. Okay, make sure you know what selective incorporation is. Make sure you know what make sure you look over the lemon test. I mean, each set of court cases has your major ones. I start them like Engel versus Vitale. I mean, there's 6 court cases right there, but that's one of the bigger ones. All right, because it talks about prayer in public schools. That's major stuff. I mean, there's certain court cases that affect data rights. Miranda versus Arizona talks about your Miranda rights. You hear it on the cop shows all the time. Okay, Gideon Wainwright, you got to have an attorney. Exclusionary rule. Make sure you know what the exclusionary rule is. Okay, if the cops obtain evidence from you illegally, they can't use it. That's called the exclusionary rule. Whatever you obtain illegally is excluded. It's not hard. Alright. So go through this. Make sure you know. I'm telling you, I starred everything for a reason. Make sure you go through your summary. Your summary in your handout is big. Your key terms are big. Alright. I hope you studied. If you looked over if you made your note cards, you looked over your the stuff I starred, you'll do fine. If not, you're probably going to fail. Peace.